Hey everyone, thank you very much for tuning in to the Your Own Pay podcast. This is Michael Babcock, and as I said in the introduction, I'm interviewing a guy who, though we face some unique technical challenges, we're overcoming those challenges and making things happen.
Skype window.
So, just wanted to get the Skype window in focus over here. I apologize for those of you who heard voiceover, but hey, it happens. We face some unique accessibility challenges and some technological challenges, but we overcome those challenges and we make stuff happen. Almost dropped one of them S words, but there's a reason we got this in the explicit category because I slip up and some of my interviewees slip up as well. So just keep that in mind. Today we're going to be interviewing a blind hip-hop artist. He's been involved in hip-hop for the past 10 years. 8 of those he was sighted. And or had some vision, and then the last 2 he had some. Well, you'll hear about it in the interview. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And John, are you there?
Yeah, definitely. I'm just right here waiting.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you joining me today. My guest is John Lyon. His stage name or street name, whatever you want to call it, is Fluffy. And he produces some awesome music. So, John, thank you very much, real quick, for joining me. And can you do me a quick favor with our first question? And that is, could you tell myself and the listeners a little bit about who you are in your story with becoming blind?
Okay, well, that might be a little long-winded, but let's go for it.
That's okay.
I went blind like about 2.5 years ago. It was in March of 2013. The thing with it that happened is I was born with seizures and hydrocephalus. For those that don't know, hydrocephalus is water in the brain. I have a shunt or a tube that drains the water out. And during that time in March of 2013, I started to get real sick. It turns out the shunt had malfunctioned and the water was congesting. It got so bad that it went into my optic nerve and damaged the optic nerve.
Wow.
Man, yeah. But it's been a long journey, you know. I mean, 2.5 years later, here I am. I take care of my own house. I do everything. I produce my music. I record it, write it, everything.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. And, I'm real about the whole empowering yourself to do better, despite any sort of circumstances you might face. So I'm glad to hear that, hey, 2 years, for some that might seem like forever, but for others, there's people who have been blind all their life, and unfortunately they're unable to handle their own affairs, and so I'm glad to hear that you've overcome those challenges. Now, real quick, stemming off of that, had you had any experience with other blind individuals before you lost your vision, or was it all a new experience?
There were a couple very quick instances. I remember because now I live in Alamogordo, New Mexico, but when I lived in Albuquerque, there was this blind man trying to cross the street. He didn't quite line himself up with his cane, and he misheard the traffic, so he thought it was the perpendicular, not the parallel traffic going. And so he started to walk, and he was out in the street about to get hit, so I ran across the street to essentially save him.
Yeah.
That was one instance. Another was at the University of New Mexico. Like, this was years later after that, and I just saw this lady walking really confidently, through the campus. I'm like, wow, I wonder if she knows where she's going, because at that point I was just ignorant to it, and I didn't know. And yeah, it turns out, she got to her class on time. She was doing real good, and I see that now. I'm like, oh, I get how that happens. I get how people get to that point.
Orientation and mobility definitely is an amazing skill to have.
Oh, yes.
So, awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing that message. And for those listeners who happen to be sighted, and though they should know, parallel is the traffic that goes alongside you, and perpendicular is the traffic that goes in front of you. So just keep that in mind. Definitely appreciate that. Now, John or Fluffy, what would you like to be called?
You can bounce back and forth, say whatever.
Awesome. We'll do that, Fluffy. Now, where did the name Fluffy come from?
Oh, this is great. I love telling this story because I don't know if you've ever heard of the comedian Gabriel Iglesias.
I have. He's an amazing guy.
One time we were at the park and everybody was hanging around. There was about 10 of us. Now it's down to 2 people that I know from high school. And we were just sitting at the park, and this one girl, she was all like, "Do you know who Gabriel Iglesias is?" I was like, "Yeah, oh yeah, yeah." He's like, "Cause back then I used to be much bigger. I was about 300 pounds, 6'1". Now I'm 6'3", 250. Um, and they're all like, "Well, you're a big guy, and we don't know what to call you other than John, and there's other Johns, so let's just call you Fluffy." I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm good with that, and since then it's a lot of people just call me by that.
Hmm.
It's just become a big thing, and I like having the name, and even though I'm thinner now, I still like keeping the name because that's who I am.
It's one
I
of
love
those.
food.
I was just gonna say it's one of those things that just stick with you, and interesting how our nicknames are generally inspired by girls. So I appreciate that. Now you mentioned Gabriel Iglesias, and I kind of suspected that had something to do with the name. Because if you type in Fluffy, obviously Gabriel Iglesias is the first thing that comes up in iTunes and stuff like that. But what was inspiration behind your journey to hip hop, and have you always been involved in hip hop?
To a point, yes. I started out like I listened to a lot of rock and heavy metal from my mom, of course, a lot of influences there, a lot of oldies from my grandma. And then just eventually, I think it was around like, I think it was a little bit after '96, after Cobain went away, hip hop started to become bigger, and I heard my mom listening to like Jay-Z and Eminem and stuff like that, and I kind of started to get into it too, and eventually it grew, and that's just the art form that I took. I still want to go back to my roots of doing metal and all that stuff, and but hip hop right now that's my main genre.
Hmm. Okay. And was there any specific hip hop artist that you mentioned Jay Z? Is he who you would say inspired you to do what you do, or?
Not really. Honestly, because I didn't get into writing hip hop until I was about 14, so it was like 3 years after the fact of
Mhm.
everything, and I'd say at this point, what inspires me, what got me to write was if you look them up, Tech Nine,
Tech
uh,
Nine.
uh, Insane Clown Posse, definitely. I'll say this: a lot of people say negative things about ICP, but they saved my life. I'm gonna say that outright. They saved my life. They stopped me from killing myself.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. You in the hip hop industry and or in just general, you do hear a lot about negative things towards ICP. So I completely understand that. Yeah, that's inspirational to hear that they've saved your life and helped you from avoiding suicide. I mean, that's big. That's deep. Um, wow. So Fluffy, quick question for you, or another question I should say for you, on a totally kind of opposite direction. How do you produce your music being completely blind?
Well, I used a couple of tools like to mark up my keyboard. I have sticky dots so I know which buttons are which to program the different instrumentations. Um, and then I use Audacity to record it.
Hmm.
Audacity, not a lot of people like that because it's a free thing and you don't get a lot of functionality out of it. But what I've done with Audacity, I've been able to master the instruments. I've been able to master the audio recording. I've been able to do that so much with a free platform. Eventually, I plan to upgrade, but at the moment, money's just not there.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, but
And
yeah.
why upgrade to something that you don't need if you're already doing good with what you have? I mean, and your music is in iTunes. It's in Reverb Nation. I mean, it's not crap that people can't stand to listen to. So that leads me to my next question of what type of accessibility challenges as a blind hip hop artist do you face, and how do you overcome those challenges?
Oh my God, I love this too because actually I face a lot of stuff like Reverb Nation. I've called them several times about accessibility things, and it's ridiculous. Uh, it's the simplest thing. I always have to go either to my girlfriend or to my neighbor and tell them, hey, click on the upload button for me real quick because that's the only thing that doesn't work, and it's always the same thing, whether it's with TuneCore or it's with Reverb Nation. Those are the only real accessibility challenges I face is uploading the actual content.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, awesome, and that kind of coincides with the podcast I did a couple weeks ago, titled Three Reasons. This cat is trying to get a lot of attention. Titled Three Reasons a Blind Person Shouldn't Hesitate to Ask Questions, because there are some things that we need to get help with, and it's beyond our control. So I'm glad to hear that you brought up that you don't have a problem with going to ask for sighted assistance. Is that correct?
Oh no, I mean it's you at first you're like, no, I can do this, I'm independent, but then you realize there's certain things that just need that little bit of assistance, and there's no shame in it, really. I mean, it's a sighted person's world.
It is. That is. Did you listen to that podcast? Because that is the exact line that I used.
Actually, yes, I was going through your catalog last night.
Oh, interesting.
Before going to bed, and just checking out everything you had, and great content. I mean, if your listenership doesn't grow within a few months, I'm gonna be like, why are these people not checking it out?
Well, it's interesting, and this podcast is mainly about you, but since you brought that up, I got to throw it out there. My downloads have doubled since I've been in iTunes, which is awesome. Like last month, I had 128 downloads. Right now, and we're about halfway through the month, and right now I'm sitting at 207 downloads, which is pretty awesome. I'm excited about that.
That's great.
Yeah, thanks. So, my last question that I have for you, well, got two questions because you kind of answered the reverb question. How was your experience with getting your music into iTunes?
I've called different distributors. Right now I go through TuneCore. So any aspiring musicians out there that want to get their music out there, definitely go to TuneCore or CD Baby. But with TuneCore, it's the same thing. It's the upload button that I have the problem with. Let's see. Today's the 17th. Like on the 3rd, my girlfriend came over, and I had told her, I was like, well, could you just help me upload the new album that's coming out?
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, and I had to turn JAWS off in order to do it, and then it still wouldn't do it. So we went on her laptop to do it, and it was such a process. I kept telling her, I was like, I'm sorry, I'm making you do all of this. It's just if I don't do it now, it won't land up in iTunes or anything until January. So I have to do it now.
Yeah, you got to get that done so that way all the processes can be completed. So it's good to hear that you have a supportive network around you, whether that be your girlfriend or your neighbors or whatnot. So I'm glad to hear that. Now, John, one last question for you. If you were to talk to a blind hip-hop artist or a blind artist in general, what's one piece of advice or tip that you would give them?
I guess the best thing I can say is you're going to hear a lot of negativity, whether you like it or not. You're going to hear a lot of people saying that your stuff is trash and no one's going to listen to it. But you know what? And I'm glad you put the explicit label on this. I'm going to put it in two simple words. What you tell that person is fuck you, because that's what it really is. You can do it. You just have to block out the negativity, and if anything, let the negativity feed you into making better art. Don't give up on because we can do anything. Anybody, sighted or blind, can do anything they want. They just have to actually get up and do it.
Hey man, I totally agree with that, and I think it's important for us to not let those naysayers get us down, because if we let those naysayers get us down, nothing would get accomplished. This whole podcasting thing, someone for a while kept telling me, "Oh, that's not going to do any good. Everyone else is already doing podcasts like what you're thinking about doing, and this and that." And I'm like, no, everyone else doesn't have my voice, and that's what makes a huge difference. So I greatly appreciate you sharing that. Now, Fluffy, here's my favorite part of the show. How can people get in contact with you and buy your music?
Wow, there's so many venues nowadays that I've been kind of going up there. You can find Diary of a Fan. I'm going to plug the social networks and stuff first. You can find me on Twitter at John Fluffy, JONFLUFFY. The J and the F are capitalized. You can find Facebook at Fluffy, Ya Skinny Homie. The Reverb Nation, of course, look for Fluffy. There's like a bunch of them out there, but I'm the only one in Alamogordo, New Mexico. You can fan me on there, listen and stream stuff. You can find my current album, Diary of a Fat Kid, and the new one, which is titled The Book About a G. That's coming on Black Friday. You can find
Nice.
them both on iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music. I don't know if people use Deezer or Shazam or any of that, but they're on a lot of things. You just have to look for it. Um, and you can find, actually, one last thing before I forget it. I do have a website. You can check it out. It's fatkidzentertainment.com. Kids with a Z. So fatkidzentertainment.com. That's my website, and my label mate's Bloody Encryption. Do you mind if I plug them real quick? Because I like to give
Do
them
it.
the to.
Do it. Whoever's helped and or inspired you. I mean, share. Here's your sharing time.
All right, definitely, because Bloody Encryption, that's the label mates of Fat Kidz Entertainment, which is our label. It's a group, actually, comprised of my brother Chaotic and our homie Bulburn. You can find them on Twitter at Bloody Encrypt, BLOODYENKRYPT. The B and the E are capital. You can find them on, again, Reverb Nation at Bloody Encryption, Facebook Bloody Encryption, and I think there's links up there on the Fat Kidz Entertainment website.
Tell you what, if you don't mind sending me all of these links, and maybe in a Facebook or in an email, michael@yourownpay.com, and I can Facebook that to you. If you don't mind sending all those links to me, I will link to them in the show notes, so that way people can just click on the links from the show notes.
Oh, of course. I'll get on that right as we get off of here.
Awesome. So, is that all you wanted to plug at this time, or?
I think I should have just about said everything. However, I do kind of want to bring up some little note of flavor. Just because record sales aren't what they were back in, '95 and everything, where everybody bought stuff.
Yeah.
What I'm going to say is, like, to the people out here that are listening, I would like to ask a little favor. If you plan on checking out my music, if you don't have any money to get it, so I'll have to bring that up too. Sorry, I'm bringing up your podcast time.
That's okay. My interviews are the longer ones. My tips are the shorter ones.
I would like to ask everybody that does not have money to support. It's free to support. Just go on Spotify, and they're doing like a month free trial right now, and just listen to my music while you sleep. That brings up the popularity of it popping up in different other playlists and all that stuff, and all that good stuff. So if you don't have if you don't have even $1, just stream it for free. But if you do, I'll let you know that Diary of a Fat Kid is actually having 25% of the sales being donated to a food bank called the Otero County Hunger Coalition. They're located here where I live in Alamogordo. You can look them up at oterohunger.org. But if you do purchase, that's what you're doing, is you're putting, a couple dollars in to help feed some people. So if you can or you can't, there's always ways to support. Share it on your Twitters and Facebooks. Scope about it. Definitely do Periscope about it.
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
Periscope's where we connected, isn't it? The first time?
Actually, I believe it might have.
No, it was a comment in one of the blindness-related Facebook groups.
Yes, yep. There you
go. Yep. And I'm like, hey, I like this guy. I got to connect with him. So, I got to ask this because we're still, recording this stuff. Is there a reason that you support the homeless shelter or the food bank, or is that just something, a charity you decided to support?
Originally it was going to go to the Roadrunner Food Bank in Albuquerque, but since I moved over here, I wanted to have it for a food bank here because, I live here. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I decided. I contacted the lady who runs it, and she was completely on board. I haven't done many donations lately, but that's because I have to focus some money on advertising and building up and stuff. So I'm trying to get a big donation done to her.
Yeah.
But the big thing I like to do, the thing I've always said for some years now, as I started, planning doing recordings and stuff, is what is the point of being a musician and making a bunch of money if you don't do anything with it? It's not about the money I can make, it's about what I do with it. And that's why I want to, with every album I release, I want to be able to donate to a different charity.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I appreciate that because they say that if you want to get something in life, you need to give more of what you want. So if you want money, you need to be giving money to be able to get money and donating it to causes that definitely help others with life and to be better. So I'm glad to hear that. Now, you said there was something else you had to bring up. Did you bring it up, or is there something else you wanted to share with the
I
listeners?
Actually, I think that was all of it. I just went and segued into one thing and another.
Interesting how that works. Well, John, I greatly appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know we're all busy and we've all got our own things that we're doing. You guys, if you are listening to this in iTunes, go ahead and leave some positive ratings and or a review. Definitely check out Fluffy's music in the iTunes store and on Apple Music and especially on Spotify. I wasn't aware of that Spotify thing. So I'm definitely gonna have to do that myself. I've never used Spotify, so why not now? So
Yeah, it's a great streaming tool, to be honest.
awesome, awesome. Yeah, I've never used it. My sister was talking to me about it once, especially for her wedding, and I'm like, yeah, I got all this other stuff, but Spotify, why not try it? So,
Yeah, I mean, 30-day free trial.
uh,
Apple Music is still doing 3 months free too.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, there's ways you can listen to the music for absolutely free, especially if you don't have money right now. So definitely check it out. Head on over to yourownpay.com. When I have this show published, you'll be able to get access to all of those amazing links that John shared with us. And once again, I appreciate you joining us. I'm going to go ahead and close it out now. And as I like to tell everyone, make today the best day of your life. Then why not do it again tomorrow?